What's up guys, June here, and a lot of you have been asking me to make a video covering some of the recent changes that were made to the Invention perks that make a lot of them look a lot more appealing for actual use in combat. So in this video we're going to take a look at some of the DPS boosting perks and see if any of them are actually worth using. The first of the primary DPS boosting perks is Biting, which goes up to tier 3, and each of the tiers offers a 2% chance to crit on top of the base chance. And this equates to a total DPS improvement of about 4% more DPS for the max tier. Considering the additional upkeep cost of divine charges as well as the cost of getting the noxious components to actually make this perk, it's a relatively unimpressive boost to your overall DPS when you're considering the costs. The second appealing perk is Crackling, which also goes up to tier 3, and this periodically deals 50% of your main hand and offhand auto attack damage. It's difficult to actually calculate the average DPS boost of this because, as far as I can tell, nobody has done comprehensive testing of how frequently this triggers, but it does seem to considerably boost your DPS. There are also two major issues with this perk. The first is that because it deals directly with the main hand and offhand auto attack damage and not with ability damage, this deals significantly more damage with high damage slower weapons like Noxious Scythe than it will with Drygores, even though you would expect that the damage boost should be identical for them being tier 90 melee weapons. The second issue is that this effect can also trigger anytime you're in combat regardless of whether you're using abilities or not, so this can go off during Reflects at Virago, during Web Shields at Araxor, and also when Nyx is using her Magic Prayer, and because it deals magic damage, you're often reflecting huge amounts of damage back on yourself, and if this goes off at the wrong time, for example at Virago or at hard mode Virago, you can expect to definitely kill people. You can circumvent this effect by removing whatever equipment piece has the Crackling perk anytime the Web Shield or a Reflect or anything like that occurs, but then you're adding extra things that you need to do and amplifying the amount of effort that you need to put into whatever PvM situation you happen to be in. The third perk is one of the most appealing, and that is Impatient, which also goes up to tier 3, and at tier 3 it offers a 27% chance to gain an additional 3% adrenaline with basics. This averages out to about 10% more overall adrenaline gain with basics and should make a pretty considerable difference in your overall DPS. If you're especially lucky, you can also combine this on a single armor gizmo by using 5 Zamorakian components, and you can get Impatient 3 and Devoted 3 on a single gizmo. The fourth perk, which should offer a net gain in DPS, is Equilibrium, and the way that they described its effect in the patch notes was that it boosted your minimum hit by 3% per rank and reduced your maximum hit by 1% per rank, and on average that should result in a net DPS gain. However, Chipapa recently concluded that the actual drain on the max hit is 4 times higher than what's stated after pretty considerable testing, and all of his data is available on the Reddit right now if you're interested in seeing that. This means the net effect of Equilibrium is actual a DPS loss, and it makes it completely useless as a perk. Finally, the last perk that I'm going to talk about in this video is the Precise perk, and what this does is boosts your minimum hit by 1.5% of your maximum hit per rank. So at the top tier, which is tier 5, you get a total of 7.5% boosted minimum damage, which results in a net DPS boost of about 6.25%. However, this perk is currently bugged and makes any critical hit impossible even on abilities like Onslaught or Shadow Tendrils, which force critical hit, and this equates to roughly a 2% DPS loss overall, which makes the net effect of Precise 5 only about 4.25% improved DPS, which is still a boost, though it's not as considerable and, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily justify the increased costs of maintenance. In summary, while all of these changes are definitely an improvement, there's really no justification to use any of these except for really rare circumstances, like if you're trying to go for record attempts at bosses. Even discounting the perks that are bugged, causing them to be less effective than they should be, the ones that do have positive effects are still negligible in comparison to the dramatically increased cost of maintenance. Hopefully in the next week or two we will see a bug fix for the problems with the Equilibrium and Precise perks, and at that point there really would be an incentive to combine these 5 perks on your equipment set. You would get a very considerable boost to your overall DPS since you can have all of these active simultaneously. As usual, I will continue to make videos as changes are made. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.